Hi guys, so today I'll be using the Bead Jewel Loom to make the bracelet you saw in the picture there, and I had seen this, I saw some reviews for it, and I thought why not, let's try it out. And it's kind of nice because you can travel with it if you want to. It's kind of flat, obviously when you use it, it curves a little bit and it's showing you the different types of things you can make on it. This particular one was only just over $8 on Amazon, and it comes with a few different things. You can also buy the loom just by itself on Amazon, and it's like $4.50 or so, so it's really good value if it works, right? So we're definitely gonna try it out. Whatever I've seen of it, it seems like obviously it does its job. Just depends on how comfortable you are working with it, like with any loom, right? So it says instructions included. This is a kit, like I said. The other one is just the loom. It's showing you a few things there, a few different projects. So let's open it up and see what's in here, because I don't quite remember exactly what all comes in the thing, and then we'll get started. Wow, that is so cute. I didn't know it had a travel pouch, or at least I don't remember that. So it has a nice little pouch. Keep everything convenient. Look at the little zipper. It's pink, kind of magenta-ish color. Really cute. So I'll open that up, and let's get this stuff going. So we have instructions. Really nice booklet of instructions. Black and white pictures, but a lot of pictures, which we like, right? Especially when you're looming, you kind of need to see exactly what's going on to be able to understand these pretty well. It comes with a long needle, beading needle, very nice flex. The threader if you need. It comes with this pin that you need for actually using the loom. Okay, so it's not like, oh, this is like a little extra thing. You do need this. And so let me grab some thread, the beads and pattern I'm going to use, and how I'm going to finish it, and we'll get started. After you read the instructions, they're suggesting to use 8/0 size beads, and those are really big, and I don't want to do that right now, so you can definitely do exactly what they say here, and that'd be nice. It's going to make a nice little bracelet just like this one, but I'm going to do my own sizing. So what you're going to do is take the metal rod, you're going to place it in one loop, one of these little holes, and then place the other one in the other hole, okay? So on the other side there's like buttons. You're going to use those to help you warp your loom, okay? So you see that fits in there. The buttons are on this other side. Now these are exactly the same one way or the other, so it doesn't matter how you use it, if you use it this way or, you know, the other in the other direction there. So what I'm going to do is take some Nymo thread, and I've already explained a lot of these things in another video, and I'll have the link for you guys, so if you need to know more basics about thread and other stuff, please look at that. This is Nymo D. Now in the instructions they're saying to go ahead and, you know, loop your thread to one of these button corners, and then you thread from back and forth in that area. But you know, I think that's kind of silly because, I don't know, I'd rather work in the middle of the loom. So I'm going to start back here. So I'm going to take my thread and just attach it here. And I'm going to be using size 10, I believe. Well, seed beads. So, you know, sometimes people say, oh, seed beads, but they come in 10/0, and if they're checked, they're 11/0 or whatever other sizes there might be. But basically mine are seed beads, and, you know, whatever you like. But when you're using smaller beads, you want to string this in each gap, okay? And I'll show you right now what I mean by that. And the instructions, they say to go ahead and go every other ridge. So I'm going to turn this back over. I have this in my hand. I'm just going to place it kind of in the middle. So I have it in the middle somewhere, just because that's where I want to start. But I want to bring it to this other side. You try to bring it straight across, okay? So you can kind of eyeball what that would look like. And hopefully you can kind of see what I'm saying. Straight across to the notch on the other side that would match up with it. And then you bring the string to the back, right around this little loop again. And all you're going to do is just go under, not that middle piece, but just go under the loop, oops, and bring it back forward. Okay, and I'm going to go back and forth, hooking it under the loop on either side until I have as many strands as I need. And it's kind of hard to see. So I need 14 strands because the pattern I've chosen today has 13 beads in the width, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I need 14 strands. You always add one more strand than the amount of beads you have in your rows, okay? So I'll bring it back here. Try to get this so you can kind of see it better. And you're not skipping any of the grooves because I am using small beads. If you're using larger beads, then you might skip a space or however you need it. So I'm going to bring it back up, straight across to the one that's right across from it. Bring it back down around the back, loop it again, and this time I'm going to bring it on the opposite side of this middle string, okay? And that just keeps when you're filling it up, and you can do this with a regular loom, it's just making it so that you can kind of keep an idea of where left and right is. If you just want to keep building off one side, that's up to you. But I'm going to bring this straight across. And I'm going to continue doing that. I'm going to bring it down here, loop around that button in the back again, and bring it over to the left. And go on the other side of the second string that we had added. Okay, I'm going to keep doing that back and forth until I have 14 strands looped onto my loom. Okay, so I have my 14 strands, and don't worry, it feels kind of loose. And you're going to fix that in a second. So all you're going to do is bring your last, I already got the 14th strand on there, so I got to tie this off. So all you're going to do is bring it around this little knot area and go ahead and just tie it on there. I'm going to cut it right now so it's easier. It's on this spool still. And get your little piece here and just tie it in a knot around that little bead, and it's not gonna look pretty. I'm gonna have to fudge with it a little bit, so I'll be right back. Tie it off. That's all you're gonna do here. What you're gonna want to do is then we're gonna add our weft cord, but we're first going to remove this metal bar, okay? And that's what's gonna give you attention, because like right now they're kind of loose, like I was mentioning. They're okay, but not a little bit tight. So what you're gonna do is actually take this metal bar out. So what I would do is flex it a little bit, push this out on one side, and make sure these aren't popping out of the grooves that they're in. As you're doing that, you don't want to mess it up. Okay, very carefully, and I'm moving this other one to the side, and just move it out. And now when it opens up, it's nice and tight. Look at that. Almost like guitar strings, but not quite. Okay, so now they're nice and taut. I have my 14 strings on there. So from this point, it depends on how you like to bead, okay? If you can add your string here, and read your pattern left to right like you're supposed to. Put the things on the beads on your needle left to right, just the way you're reading your pattern, and work all the way up. Or you can start at the top and work down. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you like, whatever's more comfortable for you. I remember I used to bead down up, and for some reason recently I've been going from the top down. So either way. So what you're going to do is take a good yard or two, whatever you like to work with, of your Nymo thread, and I don't know if I mentioned that was Nymo D, but that's what I like to use. And I'm going to take this little guy, and one other thing I'm going to mention about this beading loom is that you basically have to attach a clasp or do it something a different way, because these are very short, these the rest of your warp threads. But anyway, I'm going to take my thread and attach it kind of high up, because I'm not really sure how long my bracelet's going to end up being. It should only be 7 inches or 7.5 inches of the actual pattern. But anyway, we're going to take this and tie it. I had seen a video from the Bead-A-Long people, and the lady, after she tied it, she just cut it off, and it's like, that's odd, because you're just doing a little overhand knot and you think that's going to hold it down. But I'm going to leave a little bit of a string so we can work that in later, okay? So there's a little bit of a tail there. And I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to use the needle I've been using. The needles that come with this kit look great, but honestly, as long as you use them, they start getting kind of warped, and I already have one going, so I don't want to warp 2 needles right now. I just warp the one I have, and then I'll go from there. But let me grab that needle. So there's the little knot, and oh gosh, you guys, you don't even know how many times I restarted this video. Okay, so we're going to take the other end of our string, and I'm not sure if I already had put the needle on it or if I'm going to put the needle on it now. I'm sorry. I've gone back so many times, I'm totally confused with what's going on. But anyway, so I'm taking my beading needle, and I'm just going to put that the thread right through, just thread it like any other needle, but I have to get it real close to my face to see. Now, you're going to take your needle and thread, the whole yard or 2 yards, whatever it is, and pass it under your loom, okay? And just bring it all out under your loom, because that's how you're going to bead. Let me show you the pattern I'm going to use. The pattern I chose is this one. I drew it out, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a little sugar skull thing. It's not anything I came up with on my own. I did draw it, but I like to find inspiration online, so seriously, look up beaded loom patterns, loom beaded bracelets, whatever it is that you want to look up as far as what you want to do. And I came up with these here pages, different things. There's lots of different, sometimes you can actually find patterns, sometimes you'll just see a project. So the project that I'm going to be copying is similar to like this bracelet here, maybe kind of like this one. You saw it in the picture already. I like this one, and again, it's 13 beads across, so that's why I needed 14 strands to hold the 13 beads. You need, on either side of the bead, you need a strand, right? So what I did was I looked at it and I kind of counted, and I made up the whole pattern, saw where it probably repeats, maybe after the little head here, it repeats again. So I drew it out, and oh, it looks really yellow. But anyway, I drew that out, and so in my mind this is all black. The parts that are squiggles, the parts that are just white are the white, like the skull part. This means to color that in some color. These are the eyes. The nose area is black. The mouth can be whatever color you want. Again, some little like flowers. This is supposed to be like a little cross, a heart with a little different coloring on the top. So I just did some different kind of notation for me to know what's going on. So that's what I'll be doing. I am going to bring down my knot a little bit lower than where I have it. Because, like I said, I've started and restopped this thing a few times. It's too tight in this area to bead, to get the beads under, to get your finger in there. So I'm bringing it down a little bit lower. This loom is, I would say, 10 inches maybe wide, so you have a lot of room to work anyway, okay? So the first part of my pattern, and any pattern you guys use, you want to bead from left to right. Now, if you want to start at the bottom and go up, or start at the top and go down, like I said, that's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and start from the top down because I've been doing that recently. So we already passed everything underneath the warp threads. These are called warp threads. This is your weft, okay, what you're working with. So I'm going to pick up 13 black beads on my needle. These are the same beads I was using the other day when I did the My Little Pony cuff bracelet, and I just haven't put them away yet. So this is perfect for this because I have an array of colors. So let me get 13 seed beads on here, and I'll be right back. So all you're going to do is pass your needle through. You can place your needle like on your tray or whatever work surface you're using, your desk, whatever. Bring those beads all the way down, and you're just going to snap them into place for your first row, okay? So let me get a little bit closer. And what you're going to do is kind of nuzzle them up. This first one might take a little bit of work. You're just going to push them up so that there's only one bead in each strand right there, like you saw that 2 strings went in there. And the first one might be a little bit tricky, but then after that they'll just snap in place because then they're used to what you have. So I'm going to pause here because I'm sure you guys don't want to see me fussing with this thing, but I'm going to pop them up so that there's one bead in between each 2 sets here. That was a tight fit, so I might end up having to adjust these, and if I do, all I'm going to do is pull them over and make it so that they're every other hole, but I didn't think that was going to be necessary because I've seen other people use seed beads and not have to do that, so this is really tight. And in the instructions, they said to go every other one because you're going to be using size 8 beads, which makes sense, but these guys should fit in here without a problem. So anyway, as you can see, the beads are up above the warp threads. You're going to pass your weft right over them, okay? So when you go through your beads, back through, you're going over the top of these guys. If you get under them, your bead's going to be floating around and it's not really in the right place, or it's going to pop out later, okay? So you really want to make sure you're in the right spot. Like I wasn't in these first 2. So let me try that again. Hold on. Okay, it was. It's just that it wanted to pop out. This thing is really tight. I don't know about that. I've never really had an issue like that. So anyway, you're going to pull it through. So you always go to the left to pick up your beads, right? Under your warp threads. And you bring it back through right to left on the way back. And that's what traps your beads, okay? So your beads should all be caught in here. Good to go. I don't know why it's so funny, like boom, it wants to pop out. Okay, I'm gonna take my needle and thread again, pass it under the warp threads, and I'm gonna pick up the second row of my pattern, which would be 3 black beads. Let me see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 white beads, and then 3 more black beads, and I'll be right back. This loom is trolling me. Okay, so I have my beads here. I'm gonna take them all the way through. Put down my needle, bring them all the way through, and I'm going to pop these up hopefully into the spot they're supposed to belong in. This is so tight. Anyway, and it might be, you know, my user error, which normally it is. So now they did pop up nice and easy though, as you can see there. So they're above the warp threads. When you come back through with your needle going from right to left, make sure you are on top of that warp thread. That's how you're trapping the beads basically. You're trapping them between the thread that went to the bottom, in between each warp thread, and then you go back over the top and that sandwiches them, okay? So you can see pictures about that if that makes more sense to you. But as you can see, they're on top of the threads there. And I'm going to come back through from right to left. Just go all the way through these little guys. Careful not to pierce your warp threads and making sure that you are above them. And sometimes if you look through, you can see the little needle. See how the needle is shiny in between each one? And you don't see a warp thread above it, then you're perfect. You're good. So now just pull it through. So I think it just needs a few rows to set up, but gosh, that's so tight. I don't know. Okay, so there it is. And then you can take your needle or your fingers or whatever and kind of push these so that it makes them more uniform. And that's kind of what makes the beading difficult to end when you go to end them, because they're still, I can still move them up and down these warps, you know. But anyway, okay, I'm going to continue on my pattern and keep going. I'll come back when I've maybe finished a skull or so, and I'll be right back. I've just been plugging along, and this does not take very long. Once you warped your loom, you know, the fun part is the beading and kind of going through. So hopefully you can kind of see it, and I was thinking, oh, I probably should use black thread, but that's okay. You guys can kind of see what's going on, I think, a little better this way too. But generally you want to pick a thread that coordinates with your project. This time I was like, well, there's black in there, there's white in there, I'm not really sure, so it doesn't matter. But anyhow, so here it is, and it's coming along great. So I don't have my camera to show you the original, but as you can see, it's pretty close to that pattern. And then I was thinking about maybe switching the next part so it goes the other way, do a heart upside down and then the skull, but I'll just continue going on the pattern, so it's not a big deal. And so I've got to the end of my pattern. I'm going to repeat one black row and then just keep going, which is basically this black row here. Okay, that's where it repeats, so you're not going to put two black rows, or I'm not. You can do whatever spacing you like. So I'm going to do one black row and then go with the pattern again with different colors in the little skull, so the next one has like a different color eye or whatever. And I think that's going to be enough, just 2 revolutions. I'm trying to see about my wrist here. Yeah, I think just 2 is going to be fine of the pattern, 2 repeats. So I'm going to continue going along. I just wanted to update with you guys. Not hard to work with. It is a little bit different. I kind of prefer maybe the metal looms because the way they sit. But you can also put this on your lap and you can hold it wherever you like. So it's just something to try out. It's a little bit different, you know. So anyway, I'll continue working and I'll be back in just a minute and then we'll take it off and go from there. So I got a whole other head done here, and I'm running low on thread. So I just want to show you, I just added the last set of beads. I went back from the right to the left. I'm going to pull that out. And I have a few inches of thread left, so you definitely want to stop there, or even when you have a little bit more, because you have to weave it in to get rid of it. You can leave it hanging out to the side and weave it in later, but I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. And this is just the way I do it. You definitely do not have to do it like I do, because I probably do it a little bit lazy. So anyway, I'm going to take my needle and go into the set of beads right above where I came out, and just go through the top again. Try, again, not to pierce your warp threads, so you can kind of push it up. And I just go in 4, 5, 6, 7 beads, or however. So you're going to try to lock this in. Basically, you're going to weave in and out so that it gets locked into the weaving. So now I'm going to go to the row above that, right above it, and go to the left. And I'm pushing all the way to the end. And you can do left-hand knots here and there, and I'm going to the row above that and pushing through, like let's say here, when I come out, and I just came out in some random spot. You can definitely take your thread and make like a little knot on one of the warp threads there. You pick out the warp thread that's in between. I don't know if you can see that. And push through, and then go back through your little loop that you just made. And you make a little knot, a little left-hand knot, or whatever you want to call it. And then you keep going, so that way there's something else anchoring it. You do not have to do that. And I'm going to go back through that next row on top. And that's where I'm going to come out. And then that's all I do, because, like I said, I'm a bit lazy. So now you have this guy hanging out. Just cut it close to the edge. Do not cut your threads, the warp threads. And you're good to go. As you wear it and you kind of tug on it, that little guy will go back in and get tucked away. Okay, so there it is. Obviously, I still need enough to make the rest of this portion of the loom, of the beading. It's not that much, so I'm not going to take, again, another yard or 2, but maybe just a couple feet, okay, of thread. And just cut it off your spool there. Get this back on my needle. Now, you could, again, just tie it at the beginning, but then it's not going to be adhered to the beading that you just came off of, so we're going to do this a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and put my needle back on, and we're going to get this thread going. So basically I want to come out of this bead at the end so I can just keep going the way we're normally doing. So you kind of have to plan what you're going to do. Like if you bring it in here, you like warp through wherever, you end up wanting to come back through these guys though. So I want to go up, down. I'll just start it. I'll start over on this end. And I'm just going to push it through a few of the beads. And pull all the way through till you have little to no tail left. I'll leave a little bit just in case. I'm going to go up to the bead below it. all the way to the edge. I just like to bring them to the edge. I don't know why. That's my preference. Here you can do a little tie. You can have done a little tie before, right in this area if you wanted to. Like let's say right here at the end, I'm going to go in between the beads. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. In between that last warp thread, pull right up in there. And you're going to make a little loop to make your knot. Go through that loop. Pull it tight, so now you have like a little half hitch notch right there. And I'm going to go right back through here because I think I need to. I'm going to go right back to that same row so I can come, oops. Be careful with your long threads. You can get knots like I just did. I got that taken care of, sorry. Okay, so now I came out here on the 4th bead. So what I'm trying to point to you guys is just weave in and out, in and out, in and out until you feel that it's secure, okay? It's not a big deal. Now I'm going to go back through, and that's exactly what I want to do because I want to go back up this last row all the way back up to the beginning. Do not pierce your warp threads. And here we are, just like I had just shown you when I fastened off the last one. And now again, pass your needle under your beading and continue on with your pattern. Okay guys, so I'm all done, and I actually went ahead and put one more skull in because it was a little bit short with my measurement for my bracelet that I need. So hopefully, you know, I was thinking about this pattern. I'm gonna put it here. Maybe you guys can pause the video and then draw it out yourself if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll put a picture of it on my Instagram and you can follow along. And you can kind of have an idea of how to draw it out, because otherwise you're gonna have to find something on Google. Just say skull bracelet or skull bracelet pattern, loom bead pattern for skull design or whatever, and you'll find something, but this is the one that I use, so I'll just leave it here. You can pause it. And I'm all done now. So what I'm going to do is take my loom. So I initially said that maybe I was going to put a clasp on it, and obviously in the description I'll have changed this. I'm going to make a closure that's basically a bead loop and a bead, okay, instead, because this is not wide enough and I don't want to go to the store and buy one, and this is another way you can finish it off and not have to spend too much more money, so I think that's always a good thing. So what I'm going to do is finish, these are already woven, just cut off the little ends if you've already woven them in to get rid of those strings. I had to attach a little more string at the very end of my project. So I'm going to leave this one, this is the very last weft thread. I'm going to go ahead and cut it a little bit shorter, but I'm going to leave it for now because I don't want to take the time to weave it in at the moment. But this is the moment of truth, guys. We are going to take this off of the loom. Very easy with this loom. All you're going to do is basically just cut it off on the back here. I recommend cutting them off so that, you know, you have about equal amounts in either direction, as close as you can get to the little beads here, to the buttons. It was not the easiest loom to work with, but once I got it set up and once I got going, like past the 4th or 5th, it loosened up. Obviously the beads are making the warp threads open up. Usually what happens is your threads are kind of thick, and then when you put the beads it brings them in, so it's kind of opposite. Nice tension, I can't complain about that. We'll see once we remove it from the loom. So okay, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors, holding onto my work so it doesn't just like snap off. I'm going to trim those, and did you hear that? It just like snapped open, okay? So there it is. It's not going to come off. Your beads are not going to fall off of here. You know, it's kind of weird. It has a lot of give. So anyway, you're going to hold that in your hand. They're not going to come off because you have plenty, and you're going to go ahead and weave this in a second. I'll talk about that. And on the other side, I'm just going to turn it so this comes off. You can definitely just take it right off. As you saw when I lifted it up, it just came off the loom because that side is now loose. And what I'm going to do is just gather this up, and I probably could have just cut them because now I have to gather it up and then give them a cut right in the middle of all of these guys. Very interesting design loom. I'm not sure that it's my favorite. It was nice afterwards, like I said, as I was working with it. It's kind of interesting because you can move it around your waist, you know, your lap a little bit, but I think I prefer a traditional loom design. But anyway, so there it is. Look at these guys wanting to move down. Ooh, that's a little bit scary. Okay, so there's lots of different ways to finish your bracelet. Like I said, I'm going to do a bead loop closure, but first we have to tuck away all of these weft threads, warp threads, sorry. So what you can do is trim down a little bit. These are not that long, so it's not a lot of waste of your thread, which is great. What you're going to do to begin with, actually this thing turned on me, didn't it? Because it was this way. Is take the outermost thread. So I'm going to start with this one on the very far right. I'm going to put it on my needle. And you're going to weave them in. Now, Bead and Button magazine says to weave them in a certain way. Beadalon says do it a certain way. Do the way you prefer. I'm going to show you a very basic way. This definitely takes some time, and when you're working on it, you want to have it in your hand, okay? Because you see the beads are already kind of wanting to move around just a little bit. So I took the very outermost thread, and what you're going to do is you're going to go down to the second bead from the top, okay? Now this is what I'm doing, I should say, because like I said, everyone has their preference. You go down to the second bead from the top on that same edge, okay? And I'm going to go through 2 of the beads and bring my thread out. Okay? Now it's going to get tighter and tighter as you go along, and you want it to be nice and tight. Now you're going to go through the bottom 2 beads, the next set, which would be the third set of beads. Go through the topmost that you can, at the very top of the bead, to not poke your warp or weft threads, and go through those 2 beads. Then you're going to go through the 2 next beads underneath the third set, 4 beads. So you're going to go 10 beads down, 10 rows down, going left and right every 2 beads. I'm going to go through here, then I'm going to bring it down to the next row, go through those 2 and out to the side, and I'm going to continue doing that, like I said, until you're down to your 10th row of beads, okay? Okay, so I just came out of my 10th row, which happens to be on the inner part. So then after you're there, you're going to go back up to the 9th row, go through the edge again. Sorry, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Go up the 9th row, out the end, and go back down into the 10th row, and then trim it off. And I'm just going to go further in a little bit, like 4 in. And if you have a bead cutter, that'd be great too. That kind of locked in the thing because you went kind of like in a circular fashion. And you just take that and cut off your thread. Now, for the subsequent ones, until you get to the other end one, you're just going to go all the way down to the 10th row, weaving in and out between the every 2, just like I did, but you're going to go into the 2nd and 3rd ones, right? Going through them all the way down to the 10th row, and you can just pull it and trim the thread at that point. Now, since I'm going to make a bead and loop closure, I'm not going to weave in the middle, the 7th and 8th, I guess, threads, okay, because I'm going to use those for the closure. So I'm going to weave in all of these threads except for those 2 middle ones, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Okay guys, so I just finished weaving in the one side. I just want to show you on the other side. I put a quick temporary knot, just knot them all together so that, you know, these beads aren't kind of falling down. They weren't, it just kind of, they get a little bit warped and you put them back up in the spot, but I just kind of wanted to not have to worry about them, so just so you know. And then you're going to finish off the other side just the same way. It does take some time, okay? But what I like about weaving them back in all the way down like you do is that it makes it sturdier. So if you feel this part of the bracelet, it's really nice and sturdy compared to like these other areas where it's kind of soft and pliable. I do want to show you the back side of the bracelet is almost just as gorgeous as the front. Or, I mean, it really is just the same almost. So, we have these 2 guys left out here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put those into your needle one at a time, or if you can get them both in one shot, that's great too. So I'm going to go ahead and get those onto my needle. Okay, to make the closure, I'm going to show you this side because it's, you know, a little more something that might need explanation. On the other side, you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to weave in all the ends except for the 2 middle ones, and then you're going to weave a loop for this closure. So I was looking through my stash here, and I have these 2 round beads. One's obviously much larger, but I want to go with the smaller one. I'm not sure why my camera's, there we go. I want to go with the smaller one. So what you're going to do is pick up 2 seed beads. So I'm going to pick up 2 black seed beads. You can pick up 3 or 4, but it's going to make it a lot looser. You're going to make a hook and eye clasp, like I said, or a loop and bead clasp, should I say. So I'm going to put 2 seed beads. I'm going to put that red bead, and I'm going to put 1 more seed bead. I'm going to go ahead and put another black one. Choose whatever colors you like to coordinate with your project. And all you're going to do is push those all the way down to your project. Okay, and pull your needle out. Okay, that's going to be one of the closure sides. So what you're going to do is go back through the red bead and the 2 seed beads. You're not going to go back through this top bead because then they just fall out. But you're going to go back through the red bead and the 2 seed beads. So just go right in there, go through the 2 seed beads, 1, 2, come out. And that black bead that was the third black bead or the third bead is going to hold your red bead in place. Now you can pull a little bit tighter so that the black bead kind of turns sideways. That just makes it look nicer. And pull it nice and tight so that it gets real close to your work. And all you're going to do is work these in the same way. You're just going to go in and find a good spot for these to go in if you want to do between like the 8th and the 9th bead or whatever bead is closest, and go 2 beads over. Bring it out. And continue weaving just like that, again about 10 beads down into the work. Okay, I'm all done woven the ends. Really cool. I love the way it feels, so cute. So on the other side, I already woven all the ends, and I have the 2 middle ones left, and I already have them on my needle here, all crooked. So I'm going to put on about maybe 10 of these black seed beads just to see if that'll be enough to make our loop for the closure. And as you see, I just push them kind of through my beads, and whatever catches on here would be good. So I have 4, 8, I need a couple more. 9, 10. And bring them all the way to the base of your work. Pull the needle through there. And so now I have this area here. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring it back down through that bottom loop to make a loop, right? To the bottom, the first bead. But if it was like that and I brought this guy over, I have to make sure that this will go in there smoothly without being too tight. But at the same time, loose enough so that you can actually get it through there, right? So if that was at the base here, I probably need about 3 more beads is what it looks like. So I'm going to attach, or go ahead and pick up about 3 more beads. And before I secure it, I just want to make sure that it is just about where I need it. So now you just made your own bead, you know, loop and clasp. I don't know why I keep calling it different things, but anyway, closure so that you don't have to go out and buy anything else if you already have the beads required. So I'm going to go back down into this first bead that I have here at the bottom with my needle, and that's going to make a loop, and we're going to pull it tight. And before I weave it into the base, you know, to the work, we just want to double check the measurement and make sure that this is right. I'm holding it real tight between my fingers over here, okay? The thread, to see if that's about what I need, and that is perfect. So there we go. I will do that. So I'm going to hold it nice and tight, and I'm going to go ahead and weave in the ends just like we did with the rest of the ends, just going through the work back and forth, and then cutting off the ends, and that's it. So I'll have pictures for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial kind of review on that loom, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye now.